Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is this week's headlines from the Unfiltered News from the reality zone of Edward G. Griffin, or G.Edward Griffin, as his name is. The man who made the delivering, actually he's got all types of books out and videos. He's got the Jekyll Island book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, explaining to you how the banks took over the world. And they did. They took over everything. And this is for March 17th through the 23rd. And this is this week's comic strip. There it is, your tax dollars. Look, green energy. We're in such trouble. Oh, man. And this is the headlines this week. This is how much trouble we're really in this week. Oops, if I can get this to line up here. They're fighting me. Why is that? There it is. Okay, and here it is. Headlines. Dallas Federal Reserve President Richard Fisher calls for ending the too-big-to-fail philosophy, which presumably means he favors allowing big banks to go out of business rather than bailing them out with taxpayer money. It is hard to tell from his statement if he really is a champion for free enterprise capitalism or merely using free market rhetoric to placate the Fed's critics while only cosmetic changes are contemplated. Since he has been a loyal servant of the banking cartel for 30 years, it is unlikely that he would ever challenge the concept of the fiat money system that is destroying this country. Time magazine, March 22nd. Monsanto and Dow Chemical publish a children's activity book full of propaganda about the so-called virtues of genetically modified food. Here is the disinformation that is intended to be taught in our schools. Natural Society, March 22nd. That's right. They want your kids to think that GMO food is healthy and good for them, even though it's going to make them sick and cost millions of dollars and make pharmaceuticals and doctors richer than everything. Just amazing criminal activity. Something to take note, collect. Obama issues an executive order that essentially establishes martial law. Yes, he did. It places all resources and infrastructure, including food, water, energy, oil, transportation, and human labor, under federal control. Citizens can be drafted into forced labor at any time. The government does not need to declare an emergency or crisis to exercise its power. It just merely has to say that it is for national defense. Post March 21st, yes. Obama is dictator now. Did you know? I don't think he's going to leave office. I think he's going to use that new EO to keep himself in there. He knows he doesn't have a chance in the election, but if he can do an FDR and get us into a world war, hey, he gets another 4 years automatically, maybe even 6, depending on how long he can stretch the war out. Like FDR did. Remember that when all this starts coming down. The U.S. Supreme Court rules that the EPA must provide a process for property owners to challenge the agency's injunctions. While this is viewed as a victory for property owners, it merely establishes the right to appeal. There is a long way to go before the overreaching power of the EPA is controlled, and that task belongs to Congress, who rather serve them than us. Fox News, March 21st. Health authorities admit that the 2009 H1N1 flu pandemic was a false alarm. Imagine that. Really? Not only was it mild, but many of those who received the vaccine suffered serious side effects. That's right, the adjuvants, and it made the body attack certain organs in there that it deemed was apparently the infected disease and needed to be removed. So the body attacked its own organs because of the adjuvants in the vaccines. Governments agreed to absolve the vaccine makers of responsibility for any injuries. Imagine that. Shoot, they could give a couple of billion out. They make $50 billion a year. $2 billion out of 50. Shoot, that's a bargain. I don't know why they don't just pay everyone off that they're injuring. So the taxpayers were left holding the bag as usual. This is the orthomolecular, March 20th. Yeah, let's see how they do this. They just come out and say, you got to get this shot. It's vital that everyone gets this, or we're going to have a pandemic. The only people I'm afraid of are the ones who get the shot. Do you not know that people who gets the flu shot are actually infected for a week, or at least 3 days after the injection? They actually can give it to somebody who hasn't had the shot yet. So why would you want to get something that's going to make you contagious to all your friends and neighbors and your family? It's unreal. Anyways, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke says that putting money on the gold standard would handicap the government's ability to address the economic conditions. He is right, which is one of the advantages of the gold standard. It is not the government's role to address economic conditions. Doing so is the primary reason the economy is now in a tailspin. The free market is the only force that can create a robust economy. Bernanke works for a banking cartel, like drug cartel, but this has been legalized by the banksters in 1913. That derives great profits from fake money, fiat money. Those profits would be drastically reduced under the gold standard because banks could not collect interest on money they create out of nothing. See how that works? They would need real deposits from their customers. Imagine that. Reuters, March 20th. Imagine that. Imagine if they couldn't print money like Ron Paul said. For a dime, you can get a gallon of gas for a silver dime. Because it costs $4 in paper to buy that little silver before 1964 dime. Think about it. That's another thing. Ron Paul supporters revealed that local Illinois TV station posts GOP primary election results the day before the election. He has the screenshots to prove it. Sarge report, or SGT report, March 20th. And he's right. They did that. They put it out a day before saying that Mittens won and Santorum was second and Gingrich was third and Ron Paul was fourth, amazingly. Man, they're being cheated, people. You're being cheated out of the real presidential person. Ron Paul is the real thing. He's been talking, saving our country for 30 years. But only now people are starting to really listen because everything's being clamped down on them. Video, Ron Paul on The Tonight Show. This is excellent. You got to see this. Tells Jay Leno that the Republican Party could have a brokered convention, which means if Mittens fails to get 1,144 delegates on the first vote, the delegates that are committed to Romney will be free to vote their conscience and choose Ron Paul if they want to. And this could be Ron Paul, coming up. Like I said, it's like a dark horse candidate. It's because somebody comes out of nowhere, appears, because they ignored him, like he doesn't exist anyway. So he's like a dark horse candidate. And he's going to come up out of nowhere and just take everything. And people will go, because they don't realize he has a strategy. He does. He has a plan. YouTube, March 20th. Sweden is on track to become the first nation to eliminate cash. Really, cashless society to reduce crime, of course. With cash accounting for only 3% of the nation's transactions, theft of currency is down. But theft by credit card fraud is up. So let's go to a cashless economy so you can be ripped off easier. A cashless society removes privacy and enables governments to monitor everything. Oh, that's right. Every time you use that credit card, they know exactly who you've been with, what you bought, what you have. They got it all. This is from the Daily Mail, March 20th. They got all that. And it's just like those cards you get, those discount cards. If you use this at, Giant Eagle, you'll get, so much off if you use this card. What that card does is collect information of everything you bought at that store at Giant Eagle. And it's sent into a database. Think about it. Just think about that too. This is not good stuff happening around here, people. You're being watched, monitored, and traced. 1984 is real. We're living it. George Orwell was right. His story came true. It was based on stuff he heard before he wrote the book. And he wrote the book, and it's all happening. Anyways, the Vatican Bank, which previously has been accused of money laundering. Yes, the Vatican's been laundering money. It's well known. Multi-billion-dollar business, is dropped off as a customer. Is dropped as a customer. J.P. Morgan for failure to meet the EU's transparency rules. Yes, the Vatican's lost its J.P. Morgan account. HuffPost, March 19th. Interesting. I don't know how the Vatican's so powerful. How they're going to handle the banksters telling them what to do. U.S. Coney 2012, the pro-war propaganda film that went viral on the internet last week, is under fire for disinformation about Uganda. The film's creator recently was arrested and taken to a mental ward for running naked through the streets and shouting obscenities. Really? He was. Daily Mail, March 19th. Crazy. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, the criminal gun runner, in 1995 video called for brainwashing people and supporting gun control. That's right, they've been planning this for years, to take away our guns so they can make us into slaves. You can't have a slave with a gun or a sword. What's wrong with you? Well, you think the people in Britain weren't allowed to have swords, even the peasant, because there was a weapon in the hand. This is further evidence that the Fast and Furious gun-running campaign under Holder's jurisdiction was designed to create a gun-related crime wave to brainwash Americans in accepting more gun control. It's the technique of convincing people to accept your solution to a problem that you yourself created. Problem, reaction, solution. Collectivist governments do that all the time, really. Breitbart, may he rest in peace, March 19th. They were keeping his website up in memory of him, and they should. Israel agrees that Iran does not have nuclear weapons and has not even decided that it wants them. Nevertheless, Israel is still advocating a pre-exemptive strike to knock out Iran's nuclear facilities to ensure that they don't follow a different course in the future. Course. Now it's domination of the entire Middle East by the banksters, but in Africa too. They're down there trying to get Uganda. Remember, Coney 2012 was to go down there and get their oil by saying there was some guy maybe killed 200-300 people he has under him, maybe killed a couple of thousand, though the government down there in Uganda killed thousands over the last 10 years. I mean, who's eviler than who? This supposed terrorist down there, Coney, or the government down there itself in Uganda. Yahoo, March 18. Brazilian authorities bar 17 Chevron and Transocean executives from leaving the country while considering criminal charges against them for an oil spill that was much smaller than the BP oil spill in the Gulf. It remains to be seen if this is a serious attempt to hold corporate executives personally responsible for their decisions or merely a ploy to obtain a large cash settlement from the corporations. Let's hope for a return of personal responsibility instead of business as usual. CNN, March 18th. Tennessee House of Representatives denounced UN Agenda 21. Good for them. And the so-called sustainable development, and a resolution that rejects communism, wealth redistribution, and forced abortions. That's what they're up to, people. They want to take away your land and rewild it for themselves. I'm going to make the statement now. The banksters and everyone that's got the money already owns everything. It's time to get us, the vermin, off their property. Do you now understand? We are nothing more than vermin on their property. I don't know how many times I can state this. They've bought everything. We think they're crashing the dollar, crashing the economy, because they're just going to turn us into a feudal state where we're living on their property. Wake up. This is coming. Although this is merely a resolution with no binding effect on the state, it is a good step forward to raise awareness. Existing Agenda 21 mandates need to be abolished. Yes, they do. We need to get the UN out of our country. They're trying to take over and be our government. And that's the truth. Canada Free Press, and this March 17. U.S., a $2 billion NSA spy center is being built in the Utah desert. That's right, it's the biggest facility ever built for the NSA in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of like Area 51, but for spying on American people. It will store and analyze private emails, cell phone calls, Google searches, parking receipts, and every imaginable digital record that exists. Remember those cards I say you use at the store to get a discount? Those little discount cards, Sears got them and everything. They're tracking you. This is where it's going. This is where all that information is going to go to. And this is from The Blaze, posted March 17th. You can check up on that. CIA Director Petraeus says that computer chips inside home appliances and gadgets increasingly are being connected to the internet. They will monitor behavior without having to plant bugs in homes or cars. People will plant them themselves when they acquire the devices. When you go and buy a toaster now, it will be spying on you. They got TVs now. It was Samsung says now they're going to have TVs with microphones and cameras watching you to see what you're doing. Do you not see what's coming down? It's a Samsung. Go to rinse.com. It's there. That's one of the intended uses of smart meters from the utility companies. Yeah, all your appliances will transmit to the smart meter, which in turn transmits to the main receiver, which goes to this NSA place up in Utah, which then everything is being watched and monitored. Daily Mail, March 17th. Come on. I'm trying to connect this stuff together for you. Kony 2012 is a war propaganda movement funded by globalist interests in order to raise public enthusiasm for invading Uganda and taking over her rich oil reserves. That's right, they're after the oil, the diamonds, the minerals. War is being packaged as peace, straight out of the book 1984. Remember, I mentioned that earlier? 1984, we're living it. InfoWars, March 17th. Michigan parents are threatened with criminal prosecution if they reject chemotherapy for their 9-year-old son, even though he no longer has the signs of cancer. That's right, they want to poison him anyways, even though he's in regression. They want to tweak his system to make it go back and die. Under collectivism, children belong to the state. Didn't you know that? That's what a marriage license is. Oh, you need to Google that. Marriage license is government control of your kids and you. Check it. Under collectivism, children belong to the state. Come to think of it, so does everyone else. WorldNet Daily posted March 17th. I'm telling you, check up on the marriage license. The license is to give government control over your offspring and yourself. Where do you think child protection services take your kids and stuff? Because of that. Video. This documentary tells the story of Dr. Stanislaw Bozinski, who developed a treatment for cancer that produced thousands of recoveries for patients who had been given up by the orthodox medicine. It also shows how the federal government has harassed him and continues to try to close down his clinic. Watch the full movie here on Vimeo, March 16th. Yeah, watch them. They're trying to shut down people that can actually cure something. They don't want you cured. Do you not understand? It's called treating you. That way they continually get money, get paycheck. They don't want cured, nothing. Wake up. Smell the fascism. UN, a Covenant on Environment and Development, has proposed a treaty designed to place control over all human activities and land use into the hands of the UN bureaucrats in the name of protecting the environment, of course. It is an attempt to put legal force behind the UN's Agenda 21. Talked about that earlier. They want to take you off your property, put you in a city like a sardine, and that's where you'll be. Welcome to Logan's Run, which is a blueprint for global collectivism. You should know about this and then support the candidate for federal office who will pledge to oppose it in its entirety. PPJ Gazette, March 14th. Guess who that is? That's right, the real candidate, Ron Paul, 2012. Video. Look, this video. Coney 2012 is a video that went viral almost 80 million hits in 24 hours. It's about a crusade to stop Joseph Kony, a Uganda warlord who kidnaps children and forces boys into his army to commit atrocities and girls into sex slavery. And the producer of the video wants governments to launch a military action to kill or capture Kony and bring him to trial at the UN International Court Justice. The plan is well thought out and the movement is rapidly growing. Most people enthusiastically approve of this plan. However, to stir the pot a bit, we invite you to comment on these questions. And these are the questions the ones you need to ask. Check these out. And if you have anything, go to Vigilant Citizen. There's another article on it. And this is the picture for this week. What a strange looking little owl. No, that is bizarre looking. This owl is bizarre looking. No, that is spooky. Oh well, until next time, this is Spellbinder saying be good, or be good at it. Have a wonderful weekend. And it looks like in central Ohio Valley, it looks like it's going to be nice weather. We've been having about 80 degrees every day. Right now it's 76. Kind of unusual for early or middle March, I guess. I mean, I remember having snows up to the 22nd of April. So this is very wild. Like I said, I think I believe the pole is moving towards Siberia, and we're moving south that way. The Earth is tilting, and the east coast of the United States is actually dropping further south towards the tropics. Like I said, you'll be able to grow oranges in northern Georgia, and Ohio will be able to have snowless winters like in south of Tennessee and Kentucky. Well, that's about all I had to say. I just decided to add that in since this is very unusual spring weather. Even though today is the first day of spring, I have to admit this is spring, but the temperature is just a bit above normal for this time of year. Oh well. Be good, or be good at it, and good day.